A lovely neighborhood that feels secure and looks safe. But Mother Tara Stover discovered down the street from her and her neighbors lives a convicted, repeated sexual predator.
When kids are walking to school, walking home from school, that's the time when they're most vulnerable.
Timothy Phillips, charged with raping two 12-year-olds and an 11-year-old boy in 1991. He took a deal for a lesser charge, but in 2012 arrested again for trying to meet an underage teen online for sex.
He should not be able to own a home near the schools.
Timothy Phillips' house is less than 800 feet from Westgate Elementary. What looks like a violation of this Ohio law, no offender shall live within 1,000 feet of a school, isn't being enforced.
It infuriates me. How can that happen?
Because Phillips says he does not live there.
Hello, Mr. Phillips. I'm Nathan with 10 TV. Can I ask you some questions? Why do you still live here?
I don't live here.
Well, you're here and this is your car.
He owns this house.
I stop by to check and maintain the property.
How many hours per day are you here?
20 minutes a day sometime.
But 10 Investigates has been watching Phillips at his house since July. Here he is on a school day, there from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m., a full 5 hours within the prohibited area.
He's there a lot. He's there during the day as everyone's children are walking unsupervised to school, which is just feet away.
Because the way the law is being interpreted, home is considered where you sleep. Neighbors say he's not sleeping there, and we confirmed it. He's been here night after night at Walmart.
So how do you know he don't sleep in the house? How do you know that?
We know that because we know that he sleeps at the Walmart parking lot nearby.
Wow.
Yeah, he sleeps at the Walmart parking lot.
Convicted, repeated sexual predator Timothy Phillips lists this Walmart as an address where he can be found.
Here he comes.
Sleeping, waking, brushing his hair. When it gets dark, he comes here to go sleep, which, as the law is currently enforced, by sleeping here, this is where he lives.
Walmart should be made to patrol their parking lots and not allow people to sleep there.
Because Timothy Phillips isn't the only one we caught on camera. This is Johnny Broncano. He spends his nights in his car at this Walmart parking lot in Delaware. So does Michael Woodring, who spent 10 years in prison. We saw him sleeping at this Reynoldsburg Walmart multiple nights. All three men, time after time, within inches from families.
Michael Woodring, you were convicted of child rape, and I'm just trying to figure out whether or not you've alerted anybody here at the Walmart that you're sleeping in the parking lot for multiple nights. You don't have any comment whatsoever? So does Walmart know that you're sleeping in their lot? It's a simple yes or no question, sir.
You know, I mean, really?
The head of the Senate Criminal Justice Committee, Ohio Senator John Eklund.
If I'm the owner of a Walmart store and it's becoming common for registered sex offenders to be living in my parking lot, if I'm the manager of that store, I'm going online, I'm going to find out if there are any parked in my parking lot.
Well, apart from being a danger to the community, they can be a trespasser. I mean, people are not entitled to claim your parking lot or your driveway of your home as their residence without your permission.
Does Walmart know that you're sleeping in their parking lot?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. You haven't talked to the manager at all?
Phillips didn't talk to management, but we did. We went inside Walmart stores with pictures of the sexual predators we caught on camera spending their nights on Walmart property.
Just wanted to find out if you're aware that there is a sexual offender who is living in your parking lot here.
You would need to speak to media relations for any questions that you have for us.
We did, and they responded. We want to thank WBNS-TV for making us aware, and we take what's being reported to us seriously. Pontifical College Josephinum. Even its name separates it from the busy outside world. Surrounded by nearly 100 acres, the Josephinum allows its seminarians to study Catholicism in silence and isolation. Within this serene beauty, a man federal investigators say is a sexual predator plotted his crimes. How did Joel Wright, a man who reportedly advertised for children, make it through the selection process for the Vatican-controlled seminary, and could it happen again? Our story starts with Joel Wright beginning his religious training. Wright went to Thomas More College south of Cincinnati. Multiple people on campus tell 10 Investigates Wright often wore a priest's collar and served as a student chaplain. Federal documents reveal Wright was about to start a second Christian college in the summer of 2014 when he went to Tijuana to have sex with children. The documents also reveal how an informant who initially said he would help Wright later refused. Wright left Mexico unsuccessful in his efforts. The informant is now cooperating with Homeland Security investigators, and he spoke to 10 TV.
He told me straight out he wanted to have sex with a baby, not even older than 2 years, he says. I said, what?
Wright then went to Franciscan University for 2 semesters in Steubenville before formally applying to that diocese in the summer of 2015. By that time, his mother said Wright had been rejected by about 45 seminaries. A spokeswoman for the Steubenville diocese said the application asked if applicants have been involved with other dioceses. But the spokeswoman added Wright's application made no mention of his other seminary rejections, let alone 45. On May 5th, a woman contacted Steubenville police to report a questionable Craigslist post by Joel Wright. It allegedly offered parents $150 to watch their children. The report was filed, but the diocese said they never knew. Those reports are not included on a criminal background check because there was no arrest nor conviction. The diocese doesn't look into students' background any further than that basic records check. Church officials say they take candidates at their word. Back to that Craigslist ad. Shockingly, it was out around the same time the diocese had Wright take a psychological exam. The exam did not set off any red flags. Steubenville Bishop Jeffrey Monforton signed off on Joel Wright's admission to the Josephinum. At first, his spokeswoman declined an on-camera interview, so we found the bishop and asked him to explain Joel Wright's admission.
Probably not a good idea. My attorney said it's probably best we don't say anything right now.
But then Steubenville's bishop began talking.
Did you get a chance to meet Joel Wright?
Oh, yes.
And what were your impressions or thoughts about him?
There's potential, but at first impressions, as we know, can be wrong. And it's very disappointing. It really broke my heart. And I appreciate you also taking a look into it and reviewing it. We have to be transparent.
One thing that could have stopped Wright was a phone call that came into the Josephinum. Remember that informant who was working with Homeland Security? He says he contacted the Josephinum in the fall of 2015 and wanted to warn them about Wright. Father John Allen confirms receiving the call and put him on hold. Allen claims the informant hung up and never called again. The informant says his follow-up email was ignored. We sat down with Father John Allen inside the Josephinum.
That wouldn't be appropriate for me to speak about any of those conversations.
Okay.
Right.
But if I may, you did at least...
I don't wish to speak about any of those conversations. As you know, the matters of his inquiry regarding Mr. Wright are under federal investigation, and it's not appropriate for me to speak about any of those.
10 Investigates reached out to members of the Josephinum's Board of Trustees to get answers. The Board of Trustees will now decide on sweeping new changes in how seminarians are admitted. Their proposals came from the Josephinum's leading priests, including Allen and Monsignor Christopher Schreck.
In light of what has happened, what is changing at the Josephinum?
In the world in which we live, it's vital for us to have every possible means at our disposal when it comes to the acceptance and formation of seminarians. Therefore, we're taking leadership in a national initiative to establish a database.
A national database would list seminary rejections, which, had it existed, means Joel Wright would have never been of the Josephinum.
Never, never.
The National Registry of Seminary Applications is not the only proposed change to prevent another Joel Wright of the Josephinum. Former FBI investigators will now do a more thorough background check, uncovering criminal complaints and a student's online history, not just convictions. And all incoming students will now have to meet with a school psychologist in person before acceptance. Acceptances for the fall class this year will be provisional until all those new steps are added.
Now that the defendant, Matthew D. Rosenberg, is guilty of...
It was a case that shocked Olentangy local school parents. Matthew Rosenberg will spend the rest of his life in prison for molesting elementary students.
There was competition in that classroom to see who got to rub his back or who got to sit in his lap.
Columbus parents Chris and Stacy complained to Arrowhead Elementary principal Nadine Ross about what their second-grade daughter was going through. That complaint happened 5 years before Rosenberg's arrest. Because of the sexual nature of these crimes, 10 Investigates is not identifying their child.
What did Principal Nadine Ross tell you?
That's just his way of relating to children.
Everybody loves him.
Everybody
He's
loves
a great
Mr. R.
teacher.
And that's just his style of teaching.
This family says they were one of the lucky ones. They believe the affection Rosenberg showed their daughter didn't include her being sexually violated. Whatever the second grader experienced is still giving her nightmares.
My child shut down after that year.
The prosecutor who convicted Rosenberg says the delays in stopping him victimized even more children.
He appeared to be grooming these girls, and a number of the girls, up to 5 every year, as far back as we could tell.
Luke Carlisle replaced Nadine Ross as principal of Arrowhead Elementary. He gave Rosenberg a written warning for inappropriate touching of students in 2012. This is what Olentangy local schools told 10 TV about their internal investigation.
In that instance, when that was reported, that was when we did do an official investigation, and it resulted in employee discipline, written warning placed in his file, and we did counsel the former teacher to be very clear about the boundaries that he established with his students.
But 10 Investigates discovered that report was never passed on to state regulators. Rosenberg was supposed to be more closely monitored by the principal. That didn't happen. Principal Carlisle's personnel report shows he was flagged for rarely monitoring teachers, with only 2 classroom visits in 1 semester, the critical period just before Rosenberg's arrest. Court records would later show that when he was supposed to be monitored, 4 more students would be violated. Both principals, Nadine Ross and Luke Carlisle, did not respond to our requests for an interview. On April 6th, Olentangy local schools agreed to an interview with 10 Investigates to explain their actions. April 7th, 3 families sued the school district and its past 2 principals for failing to act on parental warnings about Rosenberg as early as 2007. On April 11th, the district canceled its interview with 10 Investigates. But this problem goes much higher. State law says that schools must only tell the Ohio Department of Education if a teacher is accused of a criminal act or if the teacher is being fired or resigns. That means teachers with questionable behavior can move from school to school, with parents and districts being none the wiser. In Miami County, there were complaints about teacher Tim Shook being involved with inappropriate behavior with students. Shook left the district and got a job with the Riverside Music Department in Logan County, where Logan County parents would have no way of knowing about the complaints. 3 years later, Logan County's prosecutor charged him with sexual battery for abusing students. Ultimately, Miami County also charged Shook for abusing students as well. But even if parental complaints get to the Ohio Department of Education, chances are nothing will be done. In 2014 alone, ODE received more than 9,000 requests to investigate teachers. They investigated just 1 out of 9 of those complaints. And out of those, the state took action in only around 2/3 of those cases. The state defends that investigation rating, saying the majority of those cases are applicants with non-felony criminal records not worthy of a full investigation.
Or we may have some that come in anonymously and they don't identify a person. So some of those are not investigated.
We took our findings to the leader of the Ohio House Education Committee. As a state leader, how do you feel about that?
Not good, obviously. What it makes me feel like we need to maybe obviously make some changes to the system, make sure that the data is properly tracked.
Even if the legislature clears up the teacher complaint and investigation system, that still leaves Chris and Stacy Phillips with the haunting belief that they did not do enough to protect their child.
I kind of feel guilty that I didn't do something more, because when, as a parent, if you have this feeling inside, you need to say something, because look what happened.
But you did say something.
I did, and I trusted them that they would do the right thing by my child and all the others, and they didn't.